Hi guys, Samuel Reichert here with another video. Today we're going to talk about self-publishing and going wide. I personally went through this journey just this past week alone. I've experimented a little in the past, like, my books would fall out of the exclusivity contract with Amazon, and I would try a little bit of dabbling with some of the other sites just to see what would happen for a few months. But then nothing would really happen, so then I'd go back and start another exclusive 3-month period. I've finally decided that I am done with Amazon's exclusivity. They keep lowering author rates. There's really no benefit to it as far as I'm seeing. Sure, they have perks for being exclusive, and if you are reaping the rewards from those perks, great, but I'm not, so it's really not benefiting me. I am officially a wide author, and I am going to see what happens. To give you a few of the technical details of how to do this, the first thing that I did, I went through and I converted all of my books from their original docx format, which is what the current Microsoft Word export program is, or save is anyway. I used a program called Calibre to convert those from docx to an EPUB format. The reason I did that is because EPUB is the most widely accepted format across the entire realm of publishing. Now, a few other notes, I will add that whenever I did this, I went ahead and I made a metadata file for each and every book. This included everything I needed from the title, the various ISBNs to that particular book, the price points across all of the common countries. I have the summary, I have the genres, and I had the keywords that I wanted to use for those specific books. And I use this information on every single one of these sites. If you are interested in doing this, there are a number of sites to choose from, and I'm not going to tell you which ones you should choose, which ones are better. I can say the ones that I published with, of course my stuff was on Amazon already. I published my hardbacks through Ingram Spark, so I went ahead and I added them to the list to do ebooks as well. I published with Smashwords, Kobo, Drafted Digital, and Barnes & Noble Press. Now, some of those, they distribute to the same places, and I'm not overly worried about that. My intention was to just get as wide as possible with this little group. They're some of the better distributors out there as far as the research and the sites that I've done, but if you're going to do this, I would recommend starting your journey with Smashwords. And the reason I recommend this is, even though their platform is really not the greatest, it's not as intuitive as, say, Drafted Digital, which I was honestly impressed how easy it was to publish with Drafted Digital. But with Smashwords, it's really going to be the strictest, most nerve-wracking, most tedious process you're going to face across all of these. And if you can get your books published perfectly with Smashwords and coming back without errors, you're going to have little to no issue with all the rest of them. Whenever I originally published with Smashwords a few years ago, I learned pretty quick that the docx format they didn't like. They wouldn't accept it. They required a doc format, so I had to convert my file to a Word 97 in order to get the .doc file. I believe that's a shortcoming on Smashwords. There's a lot of people who aren't too thrilled with the way Smashwords does things. Another thing I would recommend with Smashwords, they have a free download that's the Smashwords Style Guide. I would highly recommend for any author, even if you don't plan to go wide, I would highly recommend download that book and read through it. It's not real long, but it will tell you little tips and tricks, basically everything you need to know to be able to format and get your book the way it needs to be for publishing. And if you can do this, it's going to help you across the board. But for Smashwords specifically, I didn't want to deal with the whole issue of converting my document, going in, having to export it to a previous version, and then uploading it to there, and then having them convert it to an EPUB, and then having to deal with all their errors. That just wasn't what I wanted to do. That's why I used Calibre to convert it myself, because whenever I was going in straight in with the EPUB, it was much easier to get things the way that I needed them. So the first thing I ended up doing once I would convert my document into an EPUB file, Smashwords has a link to an EPUB validator website. I would put the exported EPUB into this, run it through its check, and see what errors came back. I ran into 3 common issues, and as I ran into those issues, I was able to prevent them in the later conversions. The most common things that I ran into was spacing, or index shift is what it was labeled as. Basically, that's anytime you hit the enter key to change the line. If you do that multiple times, they tend to not like that. When you're formatting a print book, it's real common to get your spacing right on the page. If you've got a dedication or a title screen and you want it in the center of the page, you're going to hit the enter key to get it spaced down the page where you want it. With an ebook, they don't particularly like that. So with them, if you have any more than 4 or 5 consecutive enter key hits, it's going to throw an error. So basically, I had to go through my document. I had to get rid of any time that I had more than 4 consecutive index split. And really, that only happened a couple times. I'd have usually one set between my manuscript itself and the end matter, and then I would have a couple usually on, like I said, the title page and dedication, stuff like that. Really, once I got rid of those consecutive index shifts, it went pretty smooth. Now, the next issue that I ran into was in the fonts of the manuscript itself, because when you export something, the fonts and everything that's needed to make it become embedded into that file. With Calibre, once I converted it to an EPUB, then I clicked the Edit Book button. And really, that breaks it down into a bunch of HTML pages that convert the entire ebook. I had to go down along the left side of the screen, and there was a little box there called Fonts. Any fonts that I use, which for my ebooks I just use Times New Roman because that's the most widely recognized font there is. But it wasn't liking the fact that Times New Roman had spaces in the name. I just went in and I did an underscore on those and changed those names, which didn't hurt anything. And then once I saved it, my ebook was updated. Now, for ebooks, a lot of us will do our table of contents, the linked chapter name or something like that goes to a bookmark location within the document, and that's how we quickly navigate through. I don't know why this happens, but in the bookmarks of a Word document, there's a little checkbox down at the bottom left corner that says Hidden Bookmarks. I usually keep that little box checked so I can see what's popping up, but occasionally you have to uncheck it and recheck it to get it to update. A hidden bookmark is basically any place in the document that for some reason the program thinks needs to be bookmarked, and you can usually identify it because it'll have a strange name or usually an underscore at the start of it. For some reason with Smashwords, these hidden bookmarks cause problems whenever you're trying to validate. So really what you can do is once you have check that box and unchecked it and make sure that you have deleted all of those bookmarks. If you save your document, go in, convert it to your EPUB, and then upload there, you should remove that particular issue. Most of the time, just doing that, I'd run it through this validator and everything would come back with no issues. So once that happened, then I would run it into Smashwords. And Smashwords does their own little check, and 90% of the time, if it clears the validator, it's going to clear. I only had one time that it did not, and honestly, I think it was a glitch because I went back and I checked and double-checked and triple-checked, and it kept throwing this one error. Finally, after about 4 times of refreshing it, updating the file, doing all that, finally it just went away without any changes being made. But once you've got your EPUB file finished, that was one of the things that I really liked about the EPUB format. When you're converting straight to Mobi, which Mobi is what Kindle books use, pictures and stuff like that have a tendency to change size and move around, and they're just really unseemly. So really with Mobi, it's better if you're dealing with just text. Things are going to be a little bit more predictable that way. But by going to an EPUB format and then all the sites that convert it to Mobi later on, I noticed that there was a lot less shifting going on. So once I had my final EPUB that had been validated, everything checked out, I uploaded it into Smashwords. I had all the metadata already set up. I got my cover image put up there. I set my price points. Everything was good to go, and then it's submitted for publishing, and we'll find out here in a couple days if I get approved for the premium status. Once Smashwords was done, all the rest of them were a piece of cake. Kobo, it's really straightforward, really simple. The only thing that I can say with Kobo is, even though everything's pretty much right there and straightforward, with Kobo I noticed it was slightly difficult to update your cover until you knew where your cover was located. Which, for the record, it's on the front page beside everything else. So it's really easy to find once you know it's there, but when you don't know it's there, it hides a little bit. It's not where you would expect it to be. But Kobo was straightforward. Drafted Digital was another one that was extremely straightforward. Now with them, they are one of the few publishing platforms that will allow you to put in just a document, and they will do the conversion to EPUB and all other conversions from there. But the benefit to them is they allow you to use those conversions anywhere else you want to put them. Most of the other sites don't like that. They want, if you convert there, they want you to use the thing specifically there. Amazon's a big one about that. You can get your Mobi file, and they don't really like that shared around. One of the other things that I really liked about Drafted Digital is they have something called universal book links. When you publish a book with them, you automatically get a universal book link for that book. And that's on their sister site, Books to Read. With Books to Read, the universal book links, you go in there and you have a link assigned to your book, and then that link will go in and it will search for, or is supposed to search and locate, any other links for that book that exist on the internet. I mean, you can compile a pretty big list of stores where your books are located, all with the simple click of a link. It's not as streamlined as I was hoping it was going to be. I went ahead and utilized that tool. I did have to do a little bit more manual work to it than the way that I was hoping it was going to be. I was hoping I could click the Find Links button and it would just populate the entire list and I'd be done, but it only found 7 or 8 of the links right off the bat. I spent hours yesterday going in and researching, so now I've got 23 or 4 different stores that my books are located on, all by just using one link. With my website, you go in, if you look and you scroll down through the books, I've got my Amazon Kindle link, and then right next to it, I did a universal buy button where I, choose your store. You can click on that. That will take you to that link page, and then you've got 20, 30 different stores you can choose from. Everything from Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, just pretty much all of them are there. And then publishing with Barnes & Noble wasn't too bad. Pretty much everything was straightforward beyond Smashwords. Now, Smashwords was the one where I did the work, but that's the thing about self-publishing. A lot of this stuff is front-loaded work. You do the work up front and then hope to reap the rewards later on. And sometimes those rewards don't come, and that's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Anyway, I hope that this answered some of your questions. If it did, please like and subscribe to my channel and click that little notification icon. I'm uploading every 2 weeks right now. It seems to be landing on Saturday most of the time. We will talk to you guys next time, and we'll see you then. Bye.